conflict is meant for connection. Conflict is something we don't need to run away from. We actually need to run toward it. Conflict is the opportunity to turn me into we.
Jason and Tori, welcome back to Focus on the Family.
Thanks so much for having us.
We love being here with you guys.
Yeah, it's good to have you. It's always fun. And I think, when you look at something like this, marriage A to Z, you must be covering it all.
Yeah, well, we actually decided to go with 30 principles, but I thought, well, let's start it from the letter A to the letter Z. But then I realized that's only 26 letters, so we had to add
bonus.
4 more.
Yeah.
A, B, B, C, C, D,
A
D.
to Z plus 4.
Yeah. Okay, this is a little unorthodox, and I know, we're going to get there. But so often when we do something like this, we cover A, we cover B, and we're pretty much done by D or E. So I'm going to start with Z, just for fun. Let's go to the end of your alphabet, just to grab people. What was Z?
Z is zeroing in on Zaniism.
I like this already.
And so let me say, about the book, we just took 30 principles, relationship principles, and we set it up to where couples can go through it, one principle per day with a little exercise at the end to help you strengthen your connection. We got to Z, and I was praying. I was like, what in the world, Z? But then I thought the one thing that we didn't have in the book that really helps couples draw closer together is adding humor into their relationship.
Yeah, that's so good.
That's what zeroing in on Zaniism is all about, like to be able to have a good laugh. And now brain science is catching up. When you start laughing with somebody, it actually draws you close with the people that you laugh with.
So it's a bonding thing. Wow, that's
really cool.
That's really interesting. I hadn't thought about humor being a bonding agent in relationship, but that's certainly true for guys. I don't know if that's true for women.
Oh,
Tori.
absolutely.
Really?
We really can't take ourselves too seriously. Well, we can, but it's not in our best interest to.
I mean, for guys, that jocularity, if I could refer to it that way. I mean, you were in sports. I played sports. John, did you play sports?
A little bit.
Okay.
Not to your
level.
Badminton?
That humor is kind of what binds a team together even. It's kind of interesting,
Absolutely.
I hadn't thought about it.
And I remember a time when Tori and I, we were probably, Tori would say 3 or 4 years into marriage. And at that point, I wasn't making a lot of money. I didn't have my own business. And I was kind of cheap, to be honest, and was putting the pressure on her. We need to save money and all sorts of things. And we took our young kids to the fair. And I was complaining about how expensive the turkey legs were. And she wanted to get
kind of a downer day for you?
I know. It was so bad.
I was not in the greatest mood.
And I remember, what was it, Tori? It was a $5 bill.
I'm embarrassed that you brought up this story.
Okay,
But yes, we were at the fair, and he was just being so sour about being there. He was like, "Why are we here? We don't have the money to do this." And of course, I had dreamed about this moment when we'd have kids and we can finally go to the fair.
This is your moment.
This is my moment.
It is.
Like, our kids finally are at an age where they can kind of enjoy the fair, but it was very hot and stuffy and a lot of people, and Jason was not feeling it. And he was really complaining about the money. He was like, "Why are we spending money on this?" And you can tell.
I could tell from there. So I asked her. She needed me to get something for one of the kids. I said, "Well, I'm going to need $5." And she took $5 out of her billfold or whatever, and she wadded up and threw it at me. And
That's awesome.
But listen, the best part, she said, "Wipe your rear with this."
Oh.
I have no idea where it came from. It was the best thing I could reach for.
Yeah,
and
you're
I
trying to
went for
make a
it.
point.
Yeah, but we
Okay.
Did she make it well?
Well,
She did.
We both started dying laughing
Okay.
because it was like, where did that even come from?
And the reason I bring that story,
Frustration, expectation.
But the words, like, what?
why would she even say that? Now, the reason I bring that up is because now, 25 years later, every now and then we'll get into an argument or a tiff. She might, or I might, we might say something like, "Wipe your rear end with this."
It's kind of our
and
way
it
to be
stops
like,
it.
okay, enough.
It cuts through the cloth.
I thought you were going to
does.
say you take a
Yeah.
$5 bill out of your wallet, you roll it up
Yeah.
and smack the
I
other one
Venmoed her
with it.
$5.
Yeah. Hey, you've been
Yeah.
married for 20 plus years, just to, kind of set the stage for everybody. We've done a very intimate job at that already.
It's great.
But let's go back to when you met. And, sometimes people say love at first sight. And did that happen for you guys?
Well, we were really good friends at first sight, but then the love came about a year later.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was fantastic. But we were, which I love that we had a solid friendship. But then That year later, I saw her, and I was in Bluefield, West Virginia, playing for the Baltimore Orioles short season rookie ball team. And her and her family came to visit me, and she got out of the car. And it was like all of a sudden everything went in slow motion. The wind started blowing, her hair started going back. And I knew at that moment that she needed me. That she could not live without me.
Now, this is what's so fun about having the spouse here. So, Tori, did you have that same feeling? Or did you see Jason in his uniform and go, "Oh, that's the guy for me"?
I did. It was kind of a love at first sight that season, or that particular game for us. It was kind of like, wow, I see you in a different light. He saw me in a different light. And we were, it was the beginning of something for sure. And we actually, the first letter A in this book is appreciate to attract. And when you're dating and when you first meet, there's that initial attraction, and it comes through appreciation, right? I appreciate the way that you are. I appreciate the way you look, or there's all these things that I appreciated in Jason that I could see that I was really, really drawn to. And with that attraction produced appreciation, but it's kind of like what comes first, the chicken or the egg, with appreciation and attraction. They go hand in hand.
I think it's the visual thing. I mean, Dr. Dobson used to talk about that. I mean, it starts with that attraction. Being visual, and then eventually it's touch, holding a hand. And then eventually it's the kiss.
Exactly.
Whatever that might be. But that's the normal progression. But you have to notice each other first.
Exactly.
That's why
That's
I
so
think
true.
before marriage, attraction leads to appreciation. So I was attracted to Tori, right? And so then we started talking. Now it's like, oh, I appreciate your personality. And it's like, so attraction led to appreciation.
That was good. Go to
it's
the
very good.
personality.
Right there? Oh, thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Coaching.
After marriage, it's reversed.
Right.
Appreciation now leads to attraction. Because after marriage,
good.
the more you think about the things that you appreciate about your spouse, the more attracted you will be. And when appreciation is the genesis for your attraction, it's so much deeper.
In that regard, and this is just a general question, I don't think you covered this in the book, but there's scientific data that shows that that bonding that we're talking about is partly in this area of attraction, but it lasts, you might call it infatuation, but there's a time limit on that. It can last from 6 months to 2 years.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why marriages that start hot
Yeah.
in terms of that attraction can grow cold rather quickly. And you're
right.
going, what happened?
Yeah.
Because it was built on infatuation.
Right.
That's right.
Not deeper things.
And the
Yeah,
way to get
exactly.
past that is appreciation.
Yeah.
Because what appreciation does when you focus on gratitude, it's like when we read Psalm 100, where it says, enter my gates with thanksgiving and my courts with praise.
Yes.
It's like gates and courts. Well, that's a picture of the temple where God's presence was. We start with thanksgiving to God, and it ushers us into his presence where his power is. Now, incorporate that into your relationships. If you think appreciative thoughts and thoughts of gratitude and thankfulness towards your spouse, and you just randomly think those things, what happens is your brain releases a hormone called oxytocin and dopamine. Dopamine's a feel-good chemical. Oxytocin is a bonding chemical. The person that you're thinking thankful thoughts toward, it bonds you to them. And when you express those thoughts, it releases oxytocin and dopamine in their brains and bonds them to you. So God is giving us a little relationship hack right there, saying, look, you want to draw close to me and me to you? Start with thanksgiving. Oh, and you want to try that in your marriage? Watch what happens. And that's how appreciation can lead you to a deeper level of attraction than you've ever felt before.
We had a
physically.
guest on that made that recommendation. If just to improve your marital situation, just give your spouse 3 compliments, 3
So good.
things a day,
Yes.
and you will watch her or him begin to blossom. I thought, oh, that's really good. I'm
is.
aiming
So
at
good.
that. Jean's listening, I'm sure. I got the report card coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
But, that's a great way to go. And
But Jim,
a good
you
way to
look
do it.
nice today. You're handsome and have a great personality.
You've already
there's your
won me
3
over.
compliments.
And you feel bonded to Jason.
Tori, let me ask you this. You're a mom of 4. You're busy. It sounds like you guys pretty much do traditional roles, and we know that in households today that can be divided up, and not mom does the chores, and I
Right.
get that. We in our family, we do our own laundry, for example.
Yeah.
Yay, team! I
Yeah,
think Jean
I love it.
taught that to the boys at like 10, and then a few years ago she's going, it would really be helpful if you could do yours, and I'm like, okay, I'll give it a try. I have a
great.
number of pink shirts available for sale.
There you go.
You're
But
learning.
But one particular night, I think you went for a walk and you felt overwhelmed as a mom of 4.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they were little at the time.
Yes,
And it's
yeah.
like, that's a season. There's moms listening and watching on YouTube. They're going, I'm in that season
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
How did you feel? What did the walk do for you? And
Yeah.
how did you have a touch of blessing
Yeah.
afterward?
Well, this was a season where the Lord was really trying to teach me that He is my source. And I think for me, early on in our relationship, I began to really look to Jason as a source of my happiness, as a source of, my help. There were so many things I began to expect from him that the Lord really needed to help me to get to a place where I saw him as my source and not Jason as my source. And so I remember that day, we talked about it in this book, where I was just having a really stressful time with the kids. I was homeschooling at the time.
Let's just throw that on.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
But good for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I applaud you for homeschooling.
Thank
She did
you.
it for 12
Yeah.
years
Yeah,
with
good
4
for you. I
kids.
bet your kids are solid.
And so I'm just trying to kind of unwind. And I remember Jason came home from work and I said, I just needed some space to like get my thoughts together. I'm really struggling. And I just went for a walk. And I remember the Lord just really speaking to me about that He is the one. He is my source. He's my source of contentment. He's my source of joy. And as I'm taking this walk, and I'm like, okay, Lord, well, if you're my source, then I'm going to surrender to you. I'm going to trust you that I can do this. Like right now, I do not feel like I can do this another day. I don't feel like I have the capacity. I don't feel like I even have the tools to do all that you have asked me to do. But if you are my source, then I'm going to trust you. And it was just this kind of act of surrender through this walk. And I walked into the house, and Jason had cleaned up the kitchen for me without me saying a
Way to
word.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
buddy.
And it was just this like really beautiful moment for both Jason and I and the Lord, to where I'm like, I know that was the Lord putting it on Jason's heart. The Lord is my source. He then used Jason to meet a need in me, but I saw it as the Lord.
Yeah.
I saw it as
You,
God.
you said, okay, Lord, I'll put it on you.
And it was kind of a pivotal time for me to where I was like, I don't have to put all these expectations on Jason. I can expect God to show up when he needs to
That's
show
a
up.
very hard thing to get to, though. I mean, really, I think expectations in marriage are probably the most difficult.
Yes.
Because just that, they're expectations. And when you don't fulfill that for your spouse,
Yeah.
it's like, bam. It's
Yes.
it's a hit to the face. It
It
feels
is.
like I thought you were going to do this. I would say most arguments in marriage are built around expectations
So true.
unfulfilled.
Yes.
And so, that's really good
I've
counsel.
heard
Yeah.
the definition that disappointment is the gap between expectation
Yeah.
and reality.
Yeah.
And we just read a quote. I forget who it was by, but replace expectation with appreciation, and you'll see your relationships blossom.
Yeah, we actually started out the chapter Appreciate to Attract with trade expectation
with appreciation.
with appreciation, and watch your world change.
Wow, that's a good one
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Let's talk about cookie dough.
Oh,
Is everybody happy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the audience happy about cookie dough?
Yeah, I like some cookie
Now,
dough.
Gene is a big raw cookie dough eater.
Yeah, me too.
I couldn't quite get there. I like
Jason
the
is
baked
too.
kind of cookie dough. But
Yeah.
but speak to the cookie dough analogy.
Okay, the cookie dough. The cookie dough analogy. Well, it's all about conflict.
So this is C.
Yeah, it's C. It's all about conflict, because conflict is meant for connection. Conflict is something we don't need to run away from. We actually need to run toward it. Conflict is the opportunity to turn me into we. And why we use cookie dough as an analogy is it's just a fantastic analogy for how you can just do some amazing things with different ingredients. So just think about cookie dough for a second. Tori makes these amazing Ranger cookies.
Okay, I'm looking forward to one.
Ranger cookies.
They're called Ranger
I
cookies
should've
because they're
brought
like
them.
healthy, right? You should have brought some
I
for the
know.
guys.
Okay,
Tori.
next time.
Next time.
Okay, healthy cookies. I don't know
Yep.
about that, but go ahead.
So, but it's basically chocolate chip cookies with some oats in it, but it's all out, kamut flour and coconut sugar.
Organic ingredients.
All the stuff that's good.
You should have brought them this time.
Oh my gosh. I'm not joking. God is my witness. I will sit and eat 12 to 15 spoonfuls of that, which is like 12 to 15 cookies.
We appreciate
Can
that
you believe
confession.
Yeah.
That's good. Let's pray.
So it does a little something to my blood
Okay,
sugar.
so tell me more about
Okay.
how this relates to marriage.
So if you think about flour, sugar, vanilla, what else? Oats, the
Right.
chocolate chip, all that kind of stuff,
Eggs.
all those different things that you put into cookie dough. If you have those ingredients each individually, you've never taken like a spoonful of flour and gone, that flour tastes really good. Or take a spoonful of the sugar and be like, wow, that sugar, that's amazing sugar. No. You have to blend them together first. You have to put them into the bowl and you have to blend them together. Now, if sugar had feelings, and flour had feelings, sugar could look to flour and say, you know what, you may be soft, but you're bland. Flour could look over to sugar and say, you know what, you may be sweet, but you're hard, right? But now you put them both into a bowl and you blend them together and you bring in what's called the bonding agent, which is eggs. You take an egg and you put it in there and you blend it all together. Now all of a sudden you can dip your spoon in there and take a bite and you've tasted something really good. The bowl represents conflict. God is the baker. The eggs is the Holy Spirit. God takes two individuals completely different from each other. Me and Tori couldn't be more different, and puts us into the bowl of conflict and says, now, if you guys yield to the Holy Spirit, let me do my thing. I know this is uncomfortable now, when you're getting put into that bowl of conflict, but what's going to come out on the other side is going to nourish people. And once we recognize that conflict is meant to take you from me and turn you into we, that can actually help and bless other people, changes the ball game with conflict.
Wow, I'm feeling like a lazy cookie eater right now. I could never
do
give
want
it that
some.
much thought. That's amazing, getting
Right?
that spiritual depth out of
There you
cookie
go,
dough.
Jim.
But next time you
Next
and
time.
Gene have any conflict,
I'm
you
going to
can
make
think
them
about
this
cookies.
weekend.
Yeah.
This weekend is cookie
All
spiritual
right.
cookie
Well,
day.
we're going to have
do it.
Tori's Ranger Cookie recipe online. We'll have details
Okay,
about their great
yes,
book,
it's a good one.
Marriage,
Yeah.
A to Z, 30 Days to Relational Transformation, and a free marriage assessment for you while you're eating your cookies. You can
Yeah.
take this and learn more about where you're strong and maybe opportunities to grow in your relationship. All of it is going to be linked over in the description below. And Jason and Tori, I understand you didn't, from the book, that you did not have really any conflict in your dating relationship.
No.
Join the
None
crowd. Who
whatsoever.
It
did?
didn't happen till you had kids at the
Happy
fair.
time.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Before you get married, you tend to focus on what's right with your fiance or girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. But then after you get married, you tend to focus on what's wrong. We learned 3 days in after being married what conflict was all about.
Oh, do tell.
We went on a trip, and I didn't realize that Tori needed, basically to have you guys ever watched the Titanic when the girl packed all those trunks and stuff
Yes.
for the trip? Like, Tori had packed a massive suitcase full of stuff, and I'm like, we don't really need it. It's a 3-day, cruise that we're going on or whatever. We kind of had a little disagreement there.
giving you the
to
look.
to my credit, I didn't know where we were going. He just said pack.
Oh.
Yeah.
That right
for-
there says
yeah.
a lot of
So
shoes.
how
A lot of
how
shoes.
am I to know
Yeah.
what
Okay.
to pack?
It was a rookie mistake for a guy. I've since learned not to do that. But we kind of were bickering a little bit throughout that entire trip. She got a little seasick. I should have checked, does she get seasick before I booked a cruise and all of this. And so now I'm missing my steak and lobster dinner.
This is day 3.
Yeah. So
Expectations are going out the window quick.
so now it's time for us to pack up and leave the boat, and we start packing up, and I'm slowly but surely growing more and more frustrated at the fact that I have to put all of these clothes in the suitcase. And she said something to me like, let me, put the suitcase together. I'll pack it up. And I actually took the suitcase. I said, fine, here. And I threw it across the
Slung
room.
it.
Open.
Open.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't throw it at her, but I threw it across the room, and I knew right there at that moment that I was the idiot, and that she
This
was.
is still day 3 or
This is
day 7?
Yeah,
this went into. This was probably day 7.
Tori, I got
The honeymoon's over.
you see this luggage and all your clothes flying out
Yeah.
of it. What are you thinking?
Oh, I was just so upset. I
Who
remember.
have I married?
Yeah,
is
exactly.
true.
Who is this man? What we learned very quickly through conflict is that we wanted agreement. I wanted him to agree with me. I wanted him to understand why I felt the way I felt, why I packed. Why can't he just understand and agree that that was the right decision, right?
Yeah.
And he wants me to agree with him that that was the worst decision you could do. Now we have to drag this thing from A to B and all these places, and that wasn't like, that was a bad decision. Don't you agree with me? But we didn't agree. And so what we had to learn, and it took us years to learn, was that to try to seek understanding. That if I
Not
could
agreement.
not agreement,
Yeah.
but understanding. Like, okay, let me just think about let me think about what, how to see it from your perspective. Why don't you see it from my perspective? And we don't have to agree on anything, but let's just try to be curious and understand each other a little
Let
bit.
me ask you this, and I think, again, this is coming from my experience and Jean and I, but it felt like when we were learning this, and I'm not saying we have graduated from the school of marriage, but the one thing it felt like, and as I've talked to other men, women take this very personally.
Yes. Yeah.
The agreement is more than just agreeing with me, because if there's disagreement, it reflects upon me.
Yes.
Like somehow I'm deficient.
Yes, that is true.
And we're going, it's only dinner.
Yeah.
We just don't agree on what
Exactly.
we might eat tonight for dinner.
Yes.
But there seems to be like this ability of women that, and I think it's an amazing thing. Women look to themselves first, far more than men. Like, where have I blown it? How have I let him down?
True.
You just have a better capacity to looking at the log in your own eye. I mean,
Yeah.
women do that very well. Men don't. We got
Yeah.
ego galore, right? So that, how do you depersonalize that to where
Yeah.
you could have not have agreement and still be okay with
Yeah.
Jason?
I think that for us women, sometimes there's a lot of guilt and shame involved. And I think for me personally, I had to really get to the bottom of that. Like, there's this, just because Jason doesn't agree with me on this situation doesn't mean that I should be, that I am now shamed or have a reason to feel guilty. It's like, we're just different. And it really is just not taking myself so seriously, right? Like that everything is, we do have this tendency to kind of put it back on, oh, what did I do wrong? No, you know what? This is just a difference of opinion. We're different and we can move on. And it's kind of just making that pivot more quickly. I think when we first got married, that pivot took a long time. It took a long time for me to be like, it's not that big of a deal. We just see things differently. And I don't need him to agree with me to feel confident in in my decision and what I'm doing. And as I began to grow, I think, and to be able to let go of that, it's like we make that pivot much more quickly. And now here we are, almost 25 years, and it's like we've gotten better and better at pivoting.
In our coaching, we tell the husband, try to feel like your wife, try to feel like your wife, and wife, try to think like your husband. And just that little pivot right there can help her snap out of things a little quicker, because that's what guys do. And it can help him dig a little deeper, because that's what women naturally do.
This has been great. The time has flown by, and so much fun to talk to both of you. This wonderful book, Marriage A to Z. I think you get a taste of what's in here. So make a donation of any amount. If you could do that monthly, that's great. If a one-time gift is where you're at, that'll be wonderful. Be part of the ministry. I mean, we're going to run Focus as effectively and efficiently as we can, so you can do ministry through it. That accrues to your account in heaven. But I commit that we'll run this ministry really well, so you can do work through it.
Yeah, donate as you can when you call 800, the letter A and the word family, or click the link in the description below. And when you're on the website, be sure to look for the link to that free marriage assessment. Over 1 million individuals have taken that. It's about a 15-minute investment, maybe at the max for you, and it's going to give you talking points that are going to benefit your relationship for years to come. Again, that's the free Focus Marriage Assessment. The link is in the description below.
Jason, Tori, again, thanks for being with us. This was so much fun.
Oh, we've enjoyed it.
Your ministry is fantastic, and we love being a part
Praise
of it.
God.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us today for Focus on the Family with Jim Daly. I'm John Fuller, inviting you back as we once again help you and your family thrive in Christ.